Oh, we're live. What's happening, everybody? Good morning. How is everybody doing today? It's so funny in the world of Zoom and perfection. We usually have backgrounds and everything, but this is just like my extra bedroom. So nothing fancy there. Peter,
Yeah, okay. This is the
can't-
first time I do this one, so
I can't hear you.
nope.
So what I'm going to do is share this in a couple of our groups to see if people want to join us.
Can you hear me now?
Now, copy link while you're figuring out the
Okay, so this is a no.
sound thing. Um, wants to
Yeah. This is better?
join. I'm gonna
Nope.
send it there, and I'm also gonna
And
send
now?
it to here. Okay, I still don't hear you if you're trying to talk, so I can't hear you. And you're like a little pixelated. But let me see. I'm pretty sure it's not my thing, but wow, there's a bunch of people joining, which is awesome. But I can't hear you. So
Yeah, but
let
I
me
can't
see.
hear. Can you hear
Let me
me?
make sure it's not my system, the microphone or
No.
the speaker
Hold on.
microphone. You can hear me, correct? Yeah, I'm not sure you have a great
How's this?
signal, brother. Um I think that because I think you're locked up and pixelated. Like I
No.
should show you. Let me
All
see
right.
so you can see. I'm gonna send this to you. This is the joy of technology. So I just sent you a picture, but I could talk until then. How is everybody doing? Does anybody have questions? Because Peter is locked up here on the screen. But if anybody has questions, he probably is coming back. Please type them in here, and then that will help facilitate keeping the conversation going. And then, but we'll talk about whatever. I think he kind of had a pre-agenda because he is really smart, and I know he knows a lot about all this stuff. I'm trying to sit farther back because some of these lives, what happens is afterwards they cut clips, which is really cool if you guys haven't done this before. But when they zoom in on the clips, like your face is like right in the scene. So my editor told me to sit back a little bit so it's not quite so zoomed in. Hi Juan, how are you? Happy Friday, everybody. Sarah, Anna, nice to see you. Faustin, Autumn Day. I love that. I said years ago I was gonna name my daughter Autumn. I love the um that name. I think it's real unique and beautiful. Rick, Matt, Medi, and Peter says he's here. Um, Anna, good morning. We love your zoomed in face. I don't know. I think it's better back here with all my backpack and everything. Your invite expired. So invite guests. Oh, here we go. Got you. Let's try again. So I just waiting for Peter. What's everybody doing this weekend? Anything exciting? Oh, there's Peter again. Now, let's see.
Yeah.
No, I can't
No.
hear you.
Nothing.
So is
Are you
your
kidding me?
mic, are you using the right microphone? Can anybody else hear Peter in case it's me being stupid? Uh,
So
no. Uh,
I'm on my phone now.
Nobody
I
else
was
can
on the
hear Peter
computer
either.
before.
I'm pretty sure. Anna, Juan, do you hear Peter? You can hear Peter? Interesting. Okay.
Okay.
Then I
So it's
wonder if
you.
that means it's me.
Dennis, put your volume up.
So where is my speaker output? Isn't technology awesome? So, how do I see my speaker output? Where's the sound audio settings? So, audio settings, sound, speakers.
This is like a comedy show now for me.
Okay, I was the stupid one. I'm sorry. Oh, don't call yourself stupid. For some reason,
Don't do that. Yeah.
but my AirPods aren't even here. But anyway, um, can you now? I'm not here. What's going
Yeah.
on?
There you are.
Okay, are we here?
Yeah.
We
Yep.
did.
Apparently, I have a little bit of a lag. Yep.
Okay, so now there's nobody else here. All right, there we go. That's why I don't do 8 a.m. lives. It would be a mess. All right, how are you, man?
I'm laughing right now, man. I'm good. I'm good.
All right, awesome.
I really just came off a really nice meeting, and I think we have a lag. I think we have like a 4 or 5 second lag.
Ooh, yeah, not bueno. So what we should do then is, why don't you? I mean, when I put that, I was the one who created the little thumbnail about our discussion, and I was like, I said AI. I was talking about Peter. I think people might know about me. Yeah, I have the elite leaders group, and we talk about. Did I just disappear?
Yep.
What is happening here?
You need to get your tech stack under control, bro.
I rebooted before, and I haven't had a problem before. Anyway, you can hear me?
Yeah. You just can't see
Okay.
it.
So when I was putting people know about me, I think, and if not, you can see I do the elite leaders. We talk about business, neuroscience, like all these different things. But what we were talking with Peter today. This is Peter's time to introduce Peter to the world of Substack and whatever. But Peter is very well versed in AI and geopolitics and life in general. And so, how about an intro? Like, what was on your mind today? What about the state of the world? What's going on in that, or the state of AI and technology?
All right. So you want to dive right into the cynicism part, right? Okay. All right. I'm done with that. I'm done with that. Okay. So actually, I just came out of a call with a really good friend of mine and client, and we were discussing the situation behind AI and the geopolitics of geostrategy and stuff. It's really very interesting. So I can see you now, which is great. Um, so there's a reason I live where I live. Yeah, and I'll show everybody. When I say that I'm actually like at, in the mountains, I am in the mountains. Everything that I write about is real. Um, Look, Dennis, you and I have been friends for a while. We've been talking for what, a little over a year, right? And I know right now I see that Juan is here, and I know that Juan. I know that you're from Venezuela. When did I start talking to you about what was going to happen in Venezuela?
Yeah, it was a while ago. I know you were telling me that the world is bubbling and that there's some things going on behind the scenes um, that we don't know about in mainstream media because everything comes out in its own time. But the things we hear about are the things that keep everybody emotional and waiting before the real events happen.
It's curated, but I think the first time I talked to you about Venezuela was as soon as Trump went into office, right?
Yes.
Now, and really, Juan, I'm really sorry about everything that's been happening in your country. Uh, and if you need to give me a little more direction of where you want me to go with this, because I mean, I can talk about the situation with Greenland. I can talk to you about the situation with Mexico. That's my uh, country. I can talk to you about the situation in Europe. I need some direction because the world's a big place. right?
Yeah.
Everything's like a little bit interconnected.
Well, no, I mean, like, I didn't really have an agenda here. I think the great thing about the LinkedIn Lives is the way that it can go in any direction, which is why I try to encourage people to ask questions. But what where like when I said there's so much going on like with AI. AI is like the biggest, hottest topic in the world of creator on every social media creator world. AI this, AI that, but it's like there's there are different levels of knowledge and expertise. I am on the low level of that. Like if you have a scale of 1 to 10, I'm in like probably the 3 range, and I know that you're near the higher uh, level of that. So that's something we could talk about. Like, what is the real, um, what are the real, what's the real progress? What's the real level of AI that we're and technology that we're living in? That's a great topic. But when we were talking about geopolitics and the state of the world, like I don't have a specific title when it or topic when it comes to that. I was thinking more about like, what is geopolitics for those who aren't following along or from a turbulent country? Like, what is that right now? How does it affect us? And how does it affect the markets? How does it affect like our lives for some people um, that think, oh, I don't need to pay attention to that. Like Sarah has a great question. How does AI and geopolitics overlap? Does that? I mean, so those are a couple questions. I know it's a big ball field, a big playing field, but maybe you can do something with it.
So Sarah asked the same, a very similar question to Juan just now. Uh, Juan was saying the future of AI and geopolitics. Look, there's a lot of questions that you just asked right there, so I'm going to focus it. Just first tell you, how does geopolitics affect us? It affects everything. Eventually, it'll affect your freedom. It'll affect your lack of freedom. It'll affect whether you are living in a surveillance state or if you're living in a free state. It'll affect your economy, your inflation, what you can buy in the store today, and versus what you're going to go and buy in the store tomorrow. The person who doesn't really want to see the world out there and they want to kind of like shut themselves down, and good, do that. It's healthy for your heart. It's healthy for your HRV. It's healthy for your mind. But you're not seeing the things, and you're not seeing the things before others. So, do you want to listen to the news? And I would say no. You need to curate what you're listening to, and you need to understand that what you're watching is curated for you, which means it's guiding you into thinking in a certain way and putting you into a certain echo chamber. And you want to be a little bit more open about it. AI is a great way to, it's a great tool to leverage from to be able to get more, well, bigger perspectives depending on how you prompt. And this
Yes.
is very important.
Yeah, and
Depending
I
on how you
think
prompt.
that I think this is a great direction to go because so that's a great direction. Let's go there. Okay? So the news is designed to well, it's more marketing. It's a news show. It's not really news. It's a news show. They know who you are, where you live, how much money you make, where your kids go to school, blah blah blah. So they give you stories to keep you emotional and tuning in. So you said, should we watch the news? Everybody says I want to be informed. But the news shows that we see, they're designed to tell us what they want us to know to keep watching or doing whatever it is they want us to do. So how do we curate and find out what is true in this world of social media and TikTok and people, you know, dramatizing everything and making it emotional? So when it's not the truth. So how do we do it? I think AI is a good way to do that, but what are some or how do we go about all this?
Dennis, man, you're opening a whole lot of different cans of worms here. Okay. Um, let's start with this. A philosophical point. What is the truth? Okay. Get used to the fact that you're never going to know the truth. That's what I can say to everybody. Get used to the fact that you're never going to know the truth because the truth has so many different perspectives, and it's practically impossible for one individual, one institution to actually know the absolute truth of anything. which is why we as human beings are notoriously bad at predicting. I think it's more useful to start thinking in systems, um, start understanding that a lot of things are interconnected, and stop trying to just go down one line. And this one line, this is an important thing for AI. What is AI? Jesus, this is going to be a lot of bouncing around, you know? Um, what is really AI? AI is a collection of information that is put into different multidimensional vectors that allow a pattern to show up. My God, let's simplify this. AI is a probabilistic machine. It gets you the most average answer possible all the time, unless you understand how to force that into a deterministic mode. Some people say, well, you need to prompt by reducing the temperature, and most people won't even know what the temperature is. The temperature is essentially how probabilistic or creative AI can get versus how deterministic or uh, non-creative and more certain the AI can get. AI is a question of thermodynamics. It's a question of you're going to see this all the time. It's a question of thermodynamics. It's a question of getting to the answer in the most economic way possible. So before, and I remember one of these comments that we got in somewhere. It was like, well, we've used a lot of energy trying to just watch videos of cute cats. Well, imagine how much energy we're using now to generate the videos of the cute cats and then watch it, right? So, and it's interesting because if you prescribe to this whole global um, warming thing or climate change, let me just be correct on that climate change thing, then the last thing you really want to do is watch generated cute videos of cats or videos of cute cats, whatever. It is a probabilistic machine. It is designed to give you the most average and cheapest answer possible. If you want to have anything better than that, you need to force the machine to do what you need it to do. And this is an important thing. You have intellectual capital. The machine doesn't have intellectual capital. The machine has information. The fact that a person can grab that information and create intellectual capital is a fantastic thing if they know how to do it. If not, if they just say, write me an article of the geopolitics of Greenland, it's going to give you the most average piece of crap, sanitized, that nobody really needs to be reading. Yeah. So you need to force a machine. How do you force a machine? First thing you need to just, one of the strategies is lower the temperature. Just tell your prompt. In ChatGPT, you have a temperature gauge, but you can actually tell your prompt just a simple thing: lower your temperature to 0. And then you'll make it more deterministic. It's still going to force its way into the cheapest possible solution. It is. But you'll get a better result. It's not going to seem human. It's not going to, but you don't want it to. This is my little bit of with AI. AI, how we interact with it right now, which is essentially LLMs, just chatbots, is designed to mimic, imitate, and emulate another human on the other side of the screen. Can we agree with that?
Sure.
Well, you know this, but most people don't. I am actually not talking about this as a ex-CEO of a leadership company. I'm talking about this as the current CEO of an AI company. I know what I am talking about, and this is why I move with caution. AI is a wonderful tool, but the robot that you're talking to is pretending to be human, but is not. I suggest to interact with AI the way you interact with movies. Suspend disbelief. Understand it's not real, but whilst you're interacting with it, pretend that it is. Okay? The AI that we create is there to understand the human experience, but not to mimic it, which is where we're very different. Not trying to sell you my AI. No, don't worry about that. It's enterprise stuff, so it's not
Well, I
for
think
public. But
Well, I think
what?
though this is a really interesting and a great path to go down. But it's like what you're saying is like because most people, you're right. I think the AI as we know it right now is basically ChatGPT or Gemini or LLMs or basically just give me a solution to this problem or answer this question. But it goes much deeper. But the average person, and by the average, 90% really don't go beyond that. And some people think they do, including me. It's like
Yourself.
but the big thing right now is agents. So, what is an agent versus just setting up a custom prompt to do a certain task? Those are two different things. An agent acts on your behalf, I think, as you, but it needs to be programmed to do that. Is that correct?
Not as you, unless you have a twin, but works kind of like this. A prompt is a simple instruction. Yeah. You can have a system prompt that then you can create into things like gems or GPTs or whatever. And you have meta prompts. I like meta prompts because a meta prompt is recursive. So it basically it criticizes itself. Kind of like metacognition is the capacity to experience and observe your own thoughts. So meta prompt kind of does that too. So if you look at my prompts, just my prompts, you've seen my prompts. It's
Yeah,
like
they're
2,000 characters before I actually ask a question, right? Okay. Um, so a prompt is one thing. You just have a little thing in the chat bot. It's like, and then a lot of people, and I would consider this is it. I would consider AI to be flight. Yeah, like flight. You can be a great kite pilot and just have your little kite with your little string, or you can be an astronaut, right? And the person who is flying the kite is the one that says, please do this for me or analyze this for me and explain it to me like I'm a 4-year-old. Congratulations, you're flying a kite. Do not pretend you're an astronaut, right? Okay. So that's one part. Um, and so the regular prompting, the explain this to me like I'm a 4-year-old, or please give me this output that I'm define the output very clearly, and the prompt is maybe a paragraph long. This is anywhere between flying a kite to flying a line airplane. The ones that you hold with a with a line and you just start spinning around in circles. It's just flying around you. It doesn't give you a lot of control. Here's one. You can have a workflow. So a workflow could be you having 2 or 3 different prompts, and this is how you're working on. You put this from this prompt into that, and then you paste it into another, whatever a workflow is for you. You might have that. And that's great. And then at that point, you might actually be flying a little, pre-built remote control plane that doesn't go further than 20 feet. Okay. Then you have automation. Automation is incredibly different. Automation it does things automatically, and you have a lot of automation tools out there, and you can access APIs with it and all that stuff. And that's great. But an agent is another level. An agent is another level. An agent actually has autonomy. It creates work that doesn't require your input anymore. It doesn't wait around for you to input something. So an agent, which I had a problem and I made very public yesterday, um, an agent will actually make decisions on your behalf. It can log into things, it can log out of things, it can create comments for you, which was my problem yesterday, day before yesterday, and stuff like
Right.
that. So uh, it can do a lot of other different things. In Sinoplex, we have uh, I call it court of agents. I have a court of agents for me. At this point, it's 11 agents that I have for me that run things automatically. I fired one of my agents yesterday, which is the one that goes into Substack. I had one that goes into Substack and it goes through all of Substack and it tells me which articles are going to be the most interesting ones for me. And then it just gives me my links and I go into them and I read them and I comment and everything. And before yesterday, I wasn't feeling so well. I had one of those emotional dips. No real reason. Just, you know, I guess not enough endorphins in my body or something like that. And I just thought, okay, I'm going to take the day off. I'm going to go to the gym, to run a little bit, and I'm going to let AI just my agent just take care of this. So it did, but it made decisions to actually comment on people's Substacks, which you alerted me to. And when I saw this, I'm like, that's not me. And so I had to go through my logs. I had to fire my agent, right? Which is great because you just basically delete it or pause it. In my case, I just paused it. But it's never going to do that again. I need to redo it. And of course, this is embarrassing because it meant that I had to reach out to every single person, which I already did, reach out to every single person and say, look, I am sorry. This was my bad, right? But it shows the power of an agent. An agent can make decisions for you. It doesn't require your input to make a decision. So this is interesting. But how far can you take it? And this is where we're going to go. Sandplex, we already are running specific departments autonomously with the agent. I have an agent that goes into my code and automatically changes the code depending on legislation changes, on regulation. I created an agent that explores EU AI Act, and it looks at my code, and it automatically changes it as the regulations change or as it spots something, and it alerts me. It sends a notification to my phone, and it tells me that it's done the change. It doesn't tell me, will you like me to do this change? It does the change for me, and it alerts me. So essentially, we're getting rid of the interface when we're going in there and checking it all out. And we understand that all we have as an interface is an alert system. This happened. This is what I did. Now I can go in there and change it back, but this is what we did. This is an agent. It is very different from just having a gem or a GPT. Very, very different. Or
Okay, so
workflow.
that's really interesting. So I guess the next question is like, how do we create such things, or can we at a certain level? Like yours is enterprise level AI software or AI technology. So there are these no code agent things out there. Are those as effective, or is that just another version of a custom GPT?
Look, I would suggest everybody to start with baby steps. If you are right now prompting things like, please tell me what the weather's like, stop it. Don't use AI as a prosthetic for your own reasoning. I created a gem, just a gem, and I'm happy to share with anybody. If you want me to share, just send me a message and I'll share it with you. But I created a gem that disallows this, right? So you ask it, what's the weather like? And it'll just reply and say, I cannot tell you that. This is not what I'm used for. I suggest that you look at your widgets, your apps, or why not just take a step outside? All right. What is this times that divided by that? Do not use me as a crutch, you know? But if you ask it a complex question, it will answer you. What I would suggest that you do is this: stop asking questions that you can either Google, don't use a computer for that, or that you can, use a calculator in your own brain. Do not atrophy your character. Do not atrophy your mind power by overusing AI for things that you can do with your own brain. You will atrophy, believe me. And then you will lose your value, not as a human being, well, out there in the world. If you're writing, just by prompting, you write it into existence, you are doing yourself and the rest of the world a disservice, because what you're doing at that point is you're losing your critical thinking and you're just creating slop and creating things that are the most average things that you can create. Even if you say, explain it to me like I'm a 4-year-old, or please make sure that you explain this in detail, like if you were a high school teacher. These are amateur moves. You don't do that. So what I would suggest is start with that, move on to thinking, how can I force AI to tell me things that are not average? I have a very cool tool that you can put in directly into your uh, into your chat, into your prompt, and it's called multi-hop reasoning. So you just say, use multi-hop reasoning to tell me whatever. This automatically forces the machine to not look for the shortest answer, but to look at different possibilities of these answers. And that's important because now you're making it think more like you would, right? And then if you lower the temperature, you say, put your temperature down to 0.5 or 0. I would never recommend temperatures that are above that because I wouldn't like AI to take over my creative process. I say this: I'll read what is generated or created if it has value, but don't ask me. No, if you haven't bled or you haven't felt the weight of the information you're putting in front of me, don't ask me to carry it.
Interesting. That's great.
So, of course, I do have a system prompt. In fact, it's a systematic prompt that allows me to copy paste the URL. It'll go through it and it'll give me a score of how much of this was human created, AI polished, or AI generated.
Right.
And if
Yeah.
it's not
That
90%, if it's not 90%, I do not read. Okay. Um, and why? If you didn't sweat for it, why should I?
Yeah, that
If you
makes sense.
didn't carry the weight for it, why should I?
So, so this is really amazing, and that tool is really cool because I think that most people would fall well under 90% in the fact that they didn't write this article, and I'm guilty of it too. I think you even told me mine come in at like under 80%, and and I've been doing a better job at that recently, the last couple weeks. But there's a time thing. But anyway, so how would we tie this type of information in and this type of technology and use case into geopolitics, into understanding what's actually happening in the world, and how it affects us? How much of it should we be emotionally attached to? How much of it is real? I live in Mexico, for people who don't know, and there was a hurricane here like 4 or 5 years ago, and it was a mess here. the trees were down and the power lines, everything. And I was walking down the street and the National Guard was there and they were picking up a tree, like three of them together. And it was the kind of tree, that kind of picture that you see on, the news channel, the CNN, the Fox News, like the horrible picture of a war-torn country with a hurricane and a tragedy. And then they put the tree in the truck, and then they sat there and one guy was checking his Facebook, and then somebody lit up a cigarette. So it's like we don't see like the truth, we see the dramatic scene that causes drama and emotion. And so how can we use the AI, the agents, or whatever technology to see what we need to see to form opinions? How much of it do we need to watch, or should we just go about building our dreams and enjoying our life?
Take it step by step. Okay, you're not going to prompt this into existence. No matter how hard you try, you're not really going to be able to use a regular prompt or even a meta prompt into doing this consistently well. For this, we need to start using what we call RAG. Okay,
Right.
retrieval augmented generation, which essentially what it is you start putting things into a file. Everything you're interested in, you put it into a file. Now, there's complexities behind that. There's, vectorized databases that you need to be able to manage for it. But there's a very simple way you can do it, and that's Notebook LM. So if you don't know Notebook LM is a Google product. It is really free as long as you have, I believe it's as long as you have a Google what you call it, workspace account, right? And so this is it. You can open up Notebook LM. You can just basically drag and drop all the things that you're interested in. You can actually do links or whatever, and then you prompt it directly from Google LM, Notebook LM. You prompt it directly from there, and you'll be able to get a better idea of it. Because you see, what happens with the retrieval augmented generation is that you already curated what it can read. So you already put all that information in there. Now, if you want to analyze it, what I'm saying is this. If you want to analyze it yourself. You need to become a systems thinker. And by that, I don't mean learn how AI works. Just think about the world in systems. Think about the human interaction as a system. If I talk to you, Dennis, I know that I'm talking about a complex individual. A complex individual has a complex life and a complex body and a complex mind. And each one of these things is a system. So I understand that, for example, if you're not feeling well today, there might be a reason behind it. And the reason might be something you've lived through in the past couple of days, or it might be a neurological situation, or it might be a hormonal situation. But all these are different systems. I need to understand it. So sometimes, if you were like me and you wore wearables for everything, I would say, you don't feel good. Tell me, what's your HRV like? And I'll understand that part of the system without me having to dig deep into the psychology, even though I am. I can't say I am a psychologist, but I do have a degree as a psychologist. I'm not going to try to psychoanalyze you if I understand that this could be a hormone thing or this could be simply a sleep deprivation or something like that. I need to understand the systems. If I want to understand geopolitics, I need to understand the systems that rule it. If I want to analyze anything, I need to understand the systems that rule that. Sure, you can put all this into your RAG file, into Notebook LM or whatever RAG file you created for yourself or have it purchased. But don't outsource the analysis until you're able to dominate the context window
Mm.
and then check it. I'm not saying this is a short journey. Then everybody starts by trying to fly the kite. I remember when I started doing AI, my first prompts were literally things like, where can I get a good steak? Use it instead of Google. And I started getting really frustrated with it because it wasn't giving me the things I needed. And I remember yesterday there was a live with Sam from Slow AI. I really like him. I really like what he has to say, and I think everybody should follow um, Slow AI and subscribe to it. Almost everything there is free, and it's fantastic. But I remember him yesterday talking about this. It's like you need to really understand, and I think, and personally, I think you really need to understand yourself before you outsource that understanding to a machine. You really need to slow down your prompts and learn step by step before you actually try to be an astronaut. Um, Overwhelm can hit you really fast, and you can become a victim of slop generation in 2.3 seconds. Don't do that. Don't outsource your intelligence to AI. Don't outsource your character to AI. Don't outsource your wisdom to AI. It's not going to do a good service. Dominate the context window. Go in there, start exploring little by little. First thing is, how do you slow down your prompts? How do you make the computer slow down a little bit so that you can actually make it think a little bit more? How can you do that? How can you make sure that you're not just using basic prompts to come up with information that you could just think of yourself?
Mm.
Don't lose your human authenticity to it. Make sure that you remain true to who you are. If, and I would say this, you can create following in any social media using AI, and people have proven this. And for entertainment, I think it's fine. For value, you got to bleed.
Yeah, I agree. And then so what you said was interesting. So to understand like the geopolitics, the news, the whatever is out there, we need to understand what's actually occurring. No, not just what they dramatize or create this show out of. We need to understand the systems. And how do we do that? How do we understand the systems other than, I guess, studying the systems or asking AI to break it down? Or unless you're you know, a, a political science major or that's something you did, um, do you think it's our responsibility to become political science oriented if we're interested in going down that rabbit hole? Most people are just like taking CNN, Fox News, or whatever drama they're watching, and then taking that as the final thing. Like, what do we do? Like, how do we find the truth? Do we use AI for that, the systems, or what do we do?
The first thing is understanding you're not going to get down to the truth. You can get 100 economists in a room, and none of them would agree on a single thing. Okay, this
Right.
is an interesting. It's like getting a meteorologist, like a group of 3 or 4 meteorologists to agree on anything. They're not going to. There's so many different opinions. You're not going to get to the bottom of the truth. But you can definitely start understanding the landscape. But if you are interested in geopolitics, I would suggest read. Like, actually read. Read the Grand Chessboard, the actual book, the Grand Chessboard. All right. Um, Read Henry Kissinger. Read Machiavelli. Start with that. Read Machiavelli. Everybody demonizes Machiavelli, but I'll tell you one thing: we would not be here today enjoying the technology that we have today, even the arts that we have today, and everyone for but we demonize it. We demonize it. Oh, it's Machiavellian by meaning evil. Oh, it's not. Machiavelli was an observer of history, an observer of history, and a strategist. He learned from other people's victories and conquests and mistakes, and he curated the necessary information and data to then have it teach you them. What I would say is this: start from the very beginning. Read Marcus Aurelius. I started um, our conversations about a year ago saying, Dennis, you need to read Marcus Aurelius, right?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Read Machiavelli. And you'll understand Machiavelli did something fantastic before, and I had a conversation with this today, this morning, but before, when we had conquerors like Alexander the Great, Cyrus the Great, even Attila and Genghis Khan and so on and so on, Marcus Aurelius. These people conquered the world in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, and they did it through character and intelligence and grit. Then I'm not trying to put down any religion. I'm not going to do that at all. But Christianity did come along, and then there were a lot of power moves by the elites of the clergy. And one of them is the exceptionalism that, well, I'm not going to get into what exceptionalism is, but essentially Christianity started to stifle discovery and science. And it's not because they didn't want people to progress. It's just they wanted people to behave. They wanted people to behave, and some of them sincerely thought they wanted people to go to heaven, you know? But it turned into a system where you either believe what we prescribe or you're a heretic. You're a heretic, we're going to put you in the Inquisition or we're going to burn you at the stake, right? All right. So this stifled creativity. And then Machiavelli comes around in mid 1300s, and he's interested in history. He is interested in culture. The de Medici family becomes a protectorate of his thoughts. And so he starts importing again and re-exploring ancient Greek civilization and the Roman civilization, which opened the minds of the de Medicis and the people at Florence in the mid 1300s to a new way of thinking, to new philosophies. And this is beautiful because this is the beginning of the Renaissance. This allowed another Florentine, which is Leonardo da Vinci, to be able to explore his mind and, become an important figure in our history. And this continues and continues and continues until all of a sudden we hit the Industrial Revolution, Victorian times, and automation starts happening. So there's this time of exploration. It's a slow burn. It starts slowly. And by the way, if anybody's a fan of ballet, ballet actually exists because of Machiavelli. He started using it in functions of the de Medici family, and eventually it was exported by Catherine de Medici when she married into the French crown. And all of a sudden we have ballet, right? It's interesting. But we hit automation and all these universities that we have. In fact, I live here in Portugal, and right along that direction, there's a town called Condesa. This is where the degree was invented. And a little bit to the south, there's a place called Coimbra, one of the oldest universities in the world. So these universities, they were teaching people how to explore, how to create, how to have this wonder and awe and curiosity about the world, which is a beautiful thing. But automation made all these schools start turning into factories of specialists. And the point is, you now need to have a function. And your function is to become a specialist on this function and produce and consume, produce and consume, produce and consume. So the value of humanity all of a sudden was dictated by how much you can produce and what you were capable of consuming. Which is why a lot of people are like, hey, check out my Instagram life. Look, check out my Instagram life. It's raining. I'm outside. I'm having a cup of something. It's cinnamon mixed with turmeric and black pepper. This isn't glamorous, man. I'll get out in the mornings and I'll run for miles in the rain because because skin is waterproof, right? Simple. Skin is waterproof. And I love it. I love the roughness of it because I know that when I come back home, I did it. I ran 562 kilometers from the south of Portugal all the way to the northeast of Spain, northwest of Spain. And I did that in 20 something days because I could. It hurt. It hurt like hell. But that builds strength. It builds character. And it helped me discover new villages, little towns, and people that I'm grateful for. But you see, I was never a man of function. I'm never going to pretend to be normal, but I was never a man of function. I never took pride in the degrees that I have. And you know where they live. My degrees live in the closet that, you know, every uh, gadget geek has. And it's a closet where all the boxes to that all your gadgets were in live just until the warranty expires. And so every acolyte I've received is in a briefcase at the back of that closet. It's not hanging on my walls because the only acolytes that really count are the scars you have on your back, and your heart, and the ones that show in your face because of the life you have had, because you deserved it. You bled through it. And so all these schools start creating people of function and people of um, consumption and production. And we're still stuck in that. But AI is going to take over that function. And when it does, we can go one of two ways. Lose the jobs, lose the productivity of the human being is going to become useless. Or we can use it to understand that now a machine is taking care of the function and I can start taking care of the exploration, the character, the grit, the the thing that really makes you human. Am I anti-AI? No, I'm incredibly pro-AI. I'm a little cynical because it allows me to be more realistic. I'm not going to be an optimist of technology and tell you, oh, this is going to take us to a post-scarcity future that is going to be so beautiful. Tell you something, it can take us to a post-scarcity future, a future where the human doesn't have to produce value anymore, but it's going to come at a cost, and that cost is going to be your freedom. Because we are very happy to give away our freedom in exchange for security or comfort. No, I'm not.
Yeah, it's
But like
interesting.
this,
I mean, the whole the AI is a convenience tool, and what you said is good. It's like we're losing our ability to be critical thinkers, and that's what's going to end up destroying us, right? Because we use it. I love this thing I heard a few weeks ago. It was a comedian. It was a couple months ago, and I think we probably talked about it. But this guy was great. He goes, mindfulness is a relatively new term. Like when we were growing up, not to age myself too much, but in the 80s, 90s, and up until um, uh, really like 15 years ago, like most of our lives, we were mindful. Like we were walking around. We didn't have the earbuds in. We didn't have the phone to stare at. We looked at trees. Even when we poop, we sit on the toilet, you read the shampoo bottle. You count the squares on the floor. Like it was just like everything we did, we
you have to
observed.
get scatological, man. You have to get
No,
scatological there.
we observed the world. Like we were present most of the time. Like when we were driving. There's so many rear end accidents because people aren't looking at the road anymore. They're looking at their phone. Like they were more mindful of everything we did, from driving to communicating with your partner to being present for your children. Like when you walk out, like people pushing their stroller, staring at their phone. the kids and the dogs even, they used to be the entertainment for life. Now they're in the way of entertainment. So I think the technology is going to take away our ability to be critical thinkers, to develop and maintain healthy relationships, to build new exciting things. Like we're becoming too dependent upon it. So how do we navigate past that, do you think?
So the diagnosis is quite simple. This is not a problem of AI, it's a problem of the interface. We're interfacing with an AI that's pretending to be human, and we build a relationship with silicon. But I don't want you to demonize AI when it's actually can be really, really helpful. For example, AI can be used to, instead of trying to discover drugs, which is what the process was like, you have a disease and you're trying to find a cure. So you try to figure out things with different components and different, synthesizing different things. And eventually you would come up with something that just basically outperforms placebo. All right. AI allows us to go from discovery to design and allows us to do it really quickly. So when we talk about the future of human biology and human life and medicine, I think AI is incredible. It will save lives. Now, when it comes to defense, it'll take them, right? But it can actually help us look at, if you prescribe to and I'm not going to say this is real or not, it's up to you to decide this. But if you prescribe to climate change, um, well, then you can understand that AI can model things and solutions that a human being right now is incapable of modeling. If you believe that the best way forward for the European Union is to have the CBDCs, which is the central bank digital currency, the only way it's actually going to work is with AI. If you want space exploration, the only way it can actually really truly work is if you allow the machines that are going up there to be autonomous. So it doesn't rely on the communication back to Earth when you're already, light years away. And this is important. When we want to understand more about physics, being able to model things through AI saves us time. It's a new age of discovery. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. We can leverage it great. The problem is not AI. The problem is how we use it. There's a gentleman this morning, I woke up to a comment on Substack from somebody, a note of someone who was, upset about this deal with AI and biotechnology and how we can now program cell and so on and so forth. And like, we need to stop this. I say, no, we don't need to stop this. We need to continue with it. We need to make sure that if we don't agree with what it can do to our bodies, that we take control over it and we make it open source so it's available to everyone so we can make decisions ourselves. But if you try to stop it, it's going to go in the background and players in the dark are going to be the ones to take control over that. And then they're going to be the ones who take control of your biology. So don't try to stop AI. I think Europe. There was a couple of questions before about geopolitics and AI. Europe is a great example. Europe is fighting very, very hard. And I live in Europe. I've lived in Europe for quite a while, and I'm a fan of the European idea. But the way that the European Commission is doing things today, and more specifically, I'm going to name two people here. More specifically, Ursula von der Leyen and Kaja Kallas. My God, what are you thinking? My God, what are you thinking? Oh my God. So we have this thing called Moore's Law. Are you aware of it?
What is it?
Moore's Law. So technology has an exponential nature. As time passes, technology gets smarter and smarter and smarter, and the cost starts dropping. Policy is linear. I wouldn't even say it's incremental. It's just linear, straight line. When a system like the European Union understands that technology is surpassing their capacity of regulation, technology advances too fast for policy to catch up and to be able to regulate it. It starts to understand, that system starts to understand that its days are counted, that eventually technology will surpass policy to a point where it will make policy obsolete. My favorite poet is Percy Shelley, and I think he was a first monk. And I'm paraphrasing there, but he said that government is only necessary whilst people are not capable of self-regulating. This is true. You can see with the samurai. The samurai were very good at self-regulating because they had a code and Bushido. But if we can actually give that regulation or give that to AI with human input, right? You need a person, you need people to have an accountability. Because one thing AI will not do is have accountability. The humans can. Yeah. And that's important. So when you do that, you will kill the government. The government is no longer necessary, or at least that big structure of a government is no longer necessary. So when a system starts to understand its inevitable demise, it doesn't go quietly, it goes kinetic. And we have seen Europe going kinetic with the EU AI Act. And I'm going to tell you what I think and I believe will happen is that eventually the EU AI Act is not going to be the only thing they do. Right now, they are stopping a lot of startups from coming in and starting here because of the penalty fees. Non-compliance can get to 35 million euros for non-compliance, or 7%, 37% of your global revenue, whatever is highest. So yeah, that incentivizes startups. It doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't ask thinkers to come to Europe. It asks thinkers to leave Europe. It asks entrepreneurs to leave Europe. And so the next step of their kinetic move is going to be to tax the compute, meaning they're going to tax the power to generate AI.
Mm.
And they think this is going to be good for Europe. So here's what's going to happen. Less innovation, less minds trying to create and generate new things, export of human capital rather than import or, creating human capital. Higher taxation on the compute, more limitations on the use. This basically will create inflation. With inflation, they will simply ask for one very simple thing, which is we're going to increase the interest rate so that we can keep money in Europe. If that happens, the capital markets are going to suffer and you're going to have the stock market's going to go down. Then the companies are going to react kinetically when they're going to say we're going to fire people because traditionally speaking, if I want to increase my profit margin, I get rid of my part of my payroll. That's going to create more unemployment because we are a social continent. We're going to try to keep people in a good condition, so we need to pay, which will create more taxation, which will, and this is a spiral we're going to go to. And this is Europe kicking because it knows that its system is archaic and it's not working.
Yeah.
And then in exchange, you have China that does the opposite, and it's preparing its pipelines, it's preparing its logistics, it's preparing its supply chain for 2035, saying this is the future. We're not going to fight it, but we're sure as hell going to make sure that we can supply it. Kaja Kallas. I think 2 weeks ago she said something ridiculous. So she is the diplomat for the EU. And a diplomat's job, and I tell you because I work with diplomats, right? You know this, I work with diplomats, I work with presidents and so on. The diplomat's job is to build bridges, not to burn them, to build them. This is highly important. And this is what she says about 2 weeks ago or something. If we can't beat Russia, yeah, if we can't fight Russia in a war, how do we expect to fight China? What is she saying? Europe would never win a war, whether it's economic, hybrid, or physical, with China. Never. Never, ever, ever. Man. So when I see this, and you'll see it in my writing. You and I have spoken a lot, and I can be incredibly positive, and I can inspire and all that, and I'll give people energy. But when I sit down to think and I sit down to write, there is a touch of noir. There's a touch of darkness in me because I've learned through pain, through seeing people bleed and through bleeding myself through these experiences, that at the very end, you need to be a little bit cynical to be realistic.
Mm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, and I believe that that's true. So you touched on a lot of different things, and your background and the things that you were just talking about require a lot of time to understand and study and read and discern the truth from
Yes.
what's happening on CNN versus what the actual truth is. So that's really the only path forward is to really educate yourself. I actually put the book, uh, The Art of War, Machiavelli, inside the chat here for people who were following along. But I think a good
So
thing
the
to
other word sounds to me, Machiavelli would be, I would suggest the prince to start with.
okay. Yeah, well, I think a good idea, and what do you think about this? Is because you and I always meet on Fridays. What if we continue this conversation next Friday? Do you want
Yeah,
to do
sure.
that? Yeah, because we're
Yeah.
already an hour and we all have things to do. But I think this is an amazing conversation, but I think it would be better to parse it out and continue it uh, next week. Does anybody else uh, think that's a good idea? Well, I think it's a good idea because I have shit to do. And so, but
But
it's
if
a
anybody has questions, reach out to my Substack, and I'll be happy to answer personally.
Yeah, please do. Send them to me, send them to Peter, and then we'll continue the conversation. I'll also post again and we'll set up a reminders and you could send questions for us to discuss next week as well. And then I think that's a good path. But thank you so much.
Yep.
And thank you everybody for tuning in. I mean, any closing arguments, Peter?
All I want to say is this: if somebody out there wants to challenge me, please, please do. I get bored if you don't.
Yeah, I can't.
That's about it.
I don't have the background. I didn't like it's not like a we can only learn so much, and I think everybody tries to be like the master of all trades, but you can't do that. It's like we're all really good at like one or two things, and it's like jack of all trades, master of none. Everybody's trying to be everything. Walmart kind of created that. Walmart created this store where they have everything you need, and now it's hard to start a business and be competitive with Walmart and have everything. You can't compete at that level. So, but
Unless
Peter,
you're Amazon.
what's that?
Unless you're Amazon.
Unless you're Amazon, yeah, but you need $1 trillion budget now in order to be competitive at a high level like that. The rest of us, we need to focus on one or two things and go deep, and then add something. Once you get to a deep level, add something else. But we can't be everything and do everything at once. So,
Yeah.
um, So
But I
I
would suggest people think in systems and not just linearly. Think in systems. Understand that systems are what rules the world, not specialities. Right now, we're living the renaissance of character, the renaissance of the polymath. This is a time of the neo-generalist. It's no longer the time of the specialist.
mm, interesting. So why don't we pick up there next week? We're gonna pick up right there about why the polymath and how to go about that, how to change our strategy and our systems right now to stay competitive or relevant or whatever the term is moving forward. Right? Is that a
Yep.
good place to start? You agree?
Yep. Just remind me when we start talking next week, because if not, I'm going to be in a completely different thing.
All right, cool. I'm gonna ping you and we can hop on again for a minute. And thank you, everybody. Hope you're having a great day. And send questions, please. And then I'll talk to you next week. Bye for now. Peace.